It's another crazy beautiful autumn day in Sweden and it's time to get on the move again. But today is actually nothing spectacular. We're just going back home to Germany. What I want to talk about in today's video is something that Stefan and I, when we did the filming yesterday, in the very end started discussing about. And that is that being a creator is oftentimes very, very lonely. And that is a topic that, like in a recent video, Peter McKinnon talked about. And I think he said something along the lines of,
YouTube is the loneliest job I've ever had. I don't really see anybody on a daily basis. If you think about it, you're in solitude for the entirety of the process.
Having done this being self-employed thing for quite a few months now, I actually found this to be very, very true. Shockingly true. And for me, this actually never has really been an issue. For me, it's always been very easy being alone as well as working alone. Especially during studying, I had to do a whole lot of projects that were like entire months of me working by myself. However, I do think that working alone has one main downside.
But before I tell you what that downside is for me, let's hear a bit more of what Peter thinks about this.
The reason I think this is an important topic is because if you don't spend any time interacting with other people, this job that maybe you work so hard to get, becoming a content creator on YouTube, I think that can get really boring. And when things get really boring, you tend to change your mind and start looking for other things to occupy your time with, which takes away from what you ultimately want. So for me, anything that can potentially be a threat to that, I need to get a handle of to make sure that it doesn't happen.
By the way, do you also sometimes do that? Just listening to YouTube videos on the go as if they were a podcast?
Short break in Stockholm. And that one downside that I was talking about is in the long run, it definitely limits my creativity to come up with new ideas and actually turning the ideas I have into something. But let me explain that a little bit more.
And be responsible.
But before I can actually start explaining, we quickly have to go and check this baby in here, because otherwise we're not gonna make it to the flight. We're pretty short on time, as always. It's quite funny actually. Oftentimes when I record these videos, I have no idea if what I'm saying actually turns out to make sense in the end. In that case, I have to trust myself in the editing that I make it sound like it made sense in the first place. Anyway, so what I was saying is that being alone limits creativity. Because when you're doing things by yourself, you normally think the same way, you record videos, shoot photos the same way, and especially when you're trying to put out a lot of content regularly and be productive, then you normally try to do things the most efficient way.
And that of course is normally not the one with trying out new things, but rather the one that you've done and practiced in the past over and over again.
But for me, when I meet up with people that are doing similar stuff, someone like Stefan, and I ask them how they go about creating their content, I oftentimes hear them do things a completely different way. And this is normally when new ideas pop into my mind, new ways of doing things, trying out different ways that I haven't done before. And so while the one thing is that it sparks new ideas to meet up and work with other people together, the other thing is that it makes the ideas you already have, it forces you to articulate them better. Because I don't know how it is for you, but for me oftentimes when I have new ideas, in my head they sound super good. They sound proper and well thought through. At the moment I try to tell them to anyone, it sort of crumbles apart. Then I suddenly realized that what I actually thought was a very clear and well-articulated idea turns out to be just a whole bunch of unsorted thoughts. So I personally found for myself, although the most time I spent being alone, creating content on my own, sitting on my computer alone, I regularly have to meet up with people that are doing something similar, to not get stuck in doing the same things and get bored with the same old routines. And for me that's a little difficult because normally I'm not really that person that goes out to meet new people. If I can, I'd rather be alone and do all the stuff myself. But I think in the long run it's going to be very beneficial to simply meet up with a whole lot of like-minded people that are in that same field. By now you might have already seen the video that I made about Stefan. By the way, if you haven't watched the video before, I link it somewhere, I think. If that was valuable to you, then I might as well try and make similar kind of videos about those people that I want to meet up with in the future. Anyways, I think that's enough for today. The gate is right there. We're already 5 hours into our travel day today, so let's get to Frankfurt and then have something to eat for tonight. So, and now it looks as if the flight is about to board. What's always best to do in those breaks right before that? Obviously, editing. In this episode that I'm doing right now, which is the second day of Amsterdam, I forgot to explain a whole bunch of stuff on camera. I'm now kind of writing a script for my voiceover that I'll then try to record later tonight. And then...
Which, if you've ever wondered by the way, is actually my standard process at the moment to make those videos. In the past, I've let myself stop me from recording if I didn't know 100% exactly what to say, but one main reason for me starting out to make those videos here is simply to become more comfortable with working on things that just aren't perfect, and then still be okay with uploading and sharing them. Curious to hear if you can relate to that at all, because for me this has been the main thing that held me back from starting to make YouTube videos for probably like an entire year before I finally decided to go for it anyway.
So successfully just made it off the plane. I just got to know that the first episode of the Leap, so the project that we did with Epidemic Sound was released. Super excited. After a few months seeing something that you did on YouTube, it's always a different thing than when you just watch it on your own. So by now the video is probably already out for quite a few days. It's the episode with Kara and Nate. If you haven't checked it already, definitely go and check it. Got my bag and now finally ready to go home and eat something and just go to bed. These travel days from Sweden are always so long, just because from Linköping here, it's now 20 o'clock soon, and I left at 11, it's 9 hours. So now just waiting for my pickup service, and then it's end to a very, very good day, Saturday.
And actually not only the first, but by now also the second episode has just been released. This one is with an amazing artist called Stefan Kunz. Here's the link to the new episode if you want to check that out. I'd be really excited if you'd let me know how you liked it. And as always, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what I talked about today. Let me know in the comments below. Until next time.